Hello Year 9, it was great to see you the other day. This is lesson 10, it is your final lesson for French of the week. Enjoy! And for today's lesson you will need your exercise book and a pen and a ruler. Pause to get that ready now if you need to. Thanks for uploading all your work onto class charts. Please make sure that you upload evidence of every single bit of work that you complete, including Quizlets for me as well. And then secondly, please only follow the indicated times on the slides, so don't go over the time that is indicated on the slides. Just move on to the next activity if you haven't done everything. That is not a problem. Please email me any questions about the activities in today's lesson, and here is my email address. Copy down the date in French, and you can find this on class charts. And then write down the title, L'imparfait, the imperfect tense. Underline the date and the title neatly in your book, and then write down the objective, l'objectif, to learn how to use the imperfect tense correctly. Pause to get that ready now. Press play to go on to the do now. Okay, a do now activity should take no more than 5 minutes. I want you to translate the sentences in English 1 to 5 into French for me. Pause to do that now, and after 5 minutes, press play to get the answers. Ok, numéro 1, je veux être vétérinaire. 2, je peux être vétérinaire. 3, je voudrais être vétérinaire. 4, j'étais vétérinaire. And 5, je voulais être vétérinaire. So this is all recap on everything you've been doing in the lessons with Monsieur Bolis over the past few weeks. And you can see that you're using the modal verbs vouloir and pouvoir, but the main phrase that you've used throughout is être vétérinaire. And you can see now the scope and just how much you can say in French using different tenses and different sets of verbs as well. So really well done. Have a good lesson with Monsieur Bolis, and I look forward to seeing your work uploaded to class charts in 24 hours to get an achievement point. Well done, Year 9. Merci, au revoir.
For our first activity, I'm going to take you through the explanation of the imperfect tense. So what I want you to do, I want you to make sure that you're giving me your full attention. So if you've got any distractions around you, make sure that you actually, move them away or try to do something about them before we start going through the explanation, because that is going to be really important for the rest of the lesson. Now that you're ready, let's start the explanation of the imperfect tense. So first thing to know is that the imperfect tense is another past tense, and it is used to describe either what was happening. For example, il pleuvait, which means it was raining. So you're describing a situation, this is what was happening, in the past, it was raining. Another option is to talk about what used to happen, and this is what we've been doing during our last few lessons. For example, je jouais au golf, I used to play golf. The third option is what was ongoing when something happened. So usually it's using two tenses. For example, je regardais la télé quand il est arrivé. So I was watching TV when he arrived. The ongoing action, the imperfect tense, is je regardais la télé, and then something happened using the perfect tense, he arrived. So just recapping, 3 things to use to when you use the imperfect tense, you use it to describe either what was happening, what used to happen, or what was ongoing when something happened. Now let's have a look at how to form the imperfect tense, and I'm going to show you plenty of examples. First thing you do is that you take the new form of the present tense. Now hang on a minute. We're talking about the past tense, aren't we? So why is mentioning the present tense? Well, that is something you need to listen later on. But it's really important to remember it needs to be the new form of the present tense. Then what you do, when it's new, there's often ONS at the end of the verb. so you cross the ONS ending. And then you add the following endings. So when you've taken the new form and crossed the ONS, you need to add the following endings. So for je, it's AIS. For tu, AIS. For il, elle, on, AIT. For nous, IONS. For vous, IEZ. And for il, elle, AIENT. So that's for the theory part. Let's have a look at how to do it in practice. So let's take an activity, a verb, faire du vélo, which it means to do cycling or to cycle. The present tense, so if you look at number 1 there to the left, we need to take the new form of the present tense. And the new form is nous faisons du vélo. So you can see the nous, you can see the verb. Then what we do, we cross the ONS. And of course, we don't need the nous anymore. So you're left with FAIS and then du vélo. So if we look at the table here, I used to do cycling, you used to do cycling, and so on. I used to do cycling would be taking the je and then adding AIS. So je faisais du vélo. For tu, it's tu faisais du vélo. The ending is AIS as well. For il, elle, ou on, the ending is AIT. So faisais. For nous, it's IONS, so nous faisions. For you plural, vous faisiez. And for the last one, il, elle, faisait du vélo, putting AIENT at the end. So just to recap, the imperfect tense is another past tense to describe what was happening, what used to happen, or what was ongoing when something happened. To form that imperfect tense, you take the new form of the present tense, just like we saw with faire du vélo, you cross the ONS, and you add the following endings. For je, you put AIS, for tu, AIS, for il, elle, on, AIT, for nous, IONS, for vous, IEZ, for il, elle, AIENT. And that's all you need to know to form the imperfect tense in French. Therefore, what I'm going to ask you now is to copy that whole page in your exercise book as it stands. So everything needs to be in your exercise book if you want to receive an achievement point from your teacher. So press pause, copy the page, and then press play when you're ready to do some practice exercises. So let's do a bit of practice. You've now written down your explanation in your exercise book. Can you please close your book for me? Thank you. So the imperfect tense is another past tense to describe. What was the first thing we used it to describe? Do you remember? I've left the example there. Maybe that's going to trigger your memory. What was the second thing we use it to? I left the example again, and that's what we've been doing the last few lessons. And for the last one, do you remember what was happening there? Why we're using the imperfect tense? That's the third way to use it. To form the imperfect tense, what form of the present tense do we take? Do you remember the pronoun that was there? And then what do we cross? And then we add the following endings. Do you remember what goes with je? What goes with tu? With il, elle, on, with nous, with vous, and with il and elle. Do you remember what the endings are? So before we move on, let's quickly correct what you were supposed to do in the exercise before. So of course it was what was happening, what used to happen, and what was ongoing when something happened. And to form the imperfect tense, it's the new form, you cross the ONS, and of course here are the endings, AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. So now that we've gone through the rules of the imperfect tense, what I want you to do, I want you to follow the link on class charts to the Quizlet activity, then complete the learn activity and the learn only, and finally do the test and send a screenshot, ideally with the screen as well, to your teacher. You can now press pause and press play again. You are now ready for some practice exercises. Open your exercise book and add the correct endings to these verbs. So just write down numbers 1 to 9 and copy what's on there, putting the correct ending at the end. You can use your notes from the class. Press pause and then press play when you're ready to see the correction. Here is the correction to your work. Numéro 1, the ending was AIS. 2, AIT. 3, AIS. Remember to tick, cross, or take correction. 3, voulions, IONS, then AIT, AIENT for il, AIENT again for elle, vous, IZ. Now that number 9 was really tricky because you need to add another E there, EAIS. Why? Because in the present tense, it's nous mangeons with an E after the G. And remember, we take the new form of the present tense, we cross the ONS, and then we add the correct ending. So that's why you also have an E there. So make sure you take the correction for that one. For your next practice activity, I want you to write the correct form of the verb in the imperfect tense, using the same verb from the first part of the sentence. It's going to make sense in a minute. And then you translate the sentences into English. So let's have a look at your task and let's have a look at the example. The sentence starts in the example with je jouais au foot et elle something au foot aussi. So using the same verb, which is jouer there, but you just have to change the ending according to the pronoun. So the pronoun is elle, and if you look at your notes, the ending for elle is AIT, so they were jouer ending in AIT. And then you translate the sentences, which for your example is, I used to play football, and she used to play football as well. And that is the same model you need to use for all the other sentences. Press pause, and then press play when you're ready to see the correction. Here is the correction to your second practice. So the example is still there. Numéro 1, it's il habitait en France aussi, because the verb was habiter at the start. And it means you used to live in France, and they used to live in France as well. Then it's tu regardais, and we used to watch TV, and you used to watch TV as well. 3. Ma mère était contente, ending AIT. So my dad was happy and my mother was happy as well. 3. Tu dormais et je dormais aussi. You were sleeping and I was sleeping as well. 5. Elle en faisait aussi. So I used to do paragliding and used to do it as well. And the last one, il allait à la pêche et j'allais à la pêche aussi. He used to go fishing, I used to go fishing as well. Do take the time to take correction, tick or cross, and then carry on with the next exercise. For next practice, I want us to write the verb in brackets in the imperfect tense, and then translate the sentences into English. So as you can see, number 1, you've got elle, blank, then aller, which is your verb in the infinitive in brackets, à la piscine. You need to translate, you need to put aller in the imperfect tense. Press pause, write down numbers 1 to 6 in your exercise book, write down what should go in the gap, and then write the translation next to it, please. Here is the correction. Numéro 1, elle allait à la piscine. And that means they used to go to the swimming pool. 2, je mangeais du pain le matin. So I used to eat bread in the morning. 3, nous faisions du ski nautique. We used to do water skiing. 4. Elle buvait du thé. She used to drink tea. 5. Vous preniez une douche. You used to have a shower. 6. On avait de la chance. We used to be lucky. Or we used to have luck. Make sure you take correction, tick or cross, and then move on. For our next practice, and our final practice, I want you to read the text below. All the verbs are in English and of course should be in the imperfect tense. Can you please translate them into French? So write down numbers 1 to 6 in your exercise book and then write down what it should be. Try to remember what a verb should be. We saw those verbs recently. Press pause, complete this task, and then press play when you're ready for the correction. Let's have a look at the correction. Here are all the verbs you should have translated. Give yourself a tick or a cross. Before I let you go, one more time, do you remember how the imperfect is used to describe? What was the first one, second one, third one, and to form the imperfect tense? What form of the present tense do you use? What do you cross? And what are the endings you add? And here are the answers to the previous slide. It was what was happening, what used to happen, what was ongoing when something happened. You take the new form, you cross the ONS, and the endings are AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IZ, AIENT.
Excellent work today, Year 9. Please remember to upload pictures of all of your classwork from your book onto ClassChart so I can give you a well-deserved achievement point. Merci, au revoir.